Hi, this is Ryan, and I'm back with another presentation. This one's going to be a quantum reversal and the forward of Victor's The First Bird. I'm going to do this a little bit different today. I'm going to kind of wing it as I go along here. Depending on how long this takes, I may break it up into two presentations today. But we'll go through it and I'll talk about it as we go along. So in the let's get right to the video. I've already done the forward and reverse, and let's take it from here. Let me put my headphones on first. So in the very first part of this, Victor's going to say, the future really could be blessed, and mine is not going to compromise. I believe he's saying here that he's already got a plan for the future, and he's not going to change that. So let's hear that part. Let's go back and just hear that one more time. In the next part, he's going to say, trust in the offer enough to understand the parallel files above and nearby. What I believe he's trying to say, and a lot of this is just my interpretation of what he's talking about, he's saying that they're making an offer of knowledge. The angels are making an offer of knowledge, and he wants you to understand that there are going to be different files that are parallel to this one, and those are some of the different versions. And then he says, if one's about to follow, I'll talk on a little bit, like this election. The election that he's talking about here is the new election that's going to be coming up in the United States presidential election. I'm going to play that again.
Come on, don't mix in mimics.
Because I kind of talked in there and it might have been hard to hear that.
Come on, don't mix in mimics.
In the next part he says, the people might find the truth disturbing. Part of this is voting on what the factories do that sets the judgment that you work. What's he mean by that? I believe he was aware 20 years ago that this election was going to happen, and he sees, and even I see it now, that it is pretty disturbing how there seems to be two different sides to the story. And a lot of the people that are for Trump are basing their whole, need for work in the judgment of whether or not he is a good president. In a way, that's kind of like letting him almost do anything he wants just so that people can benefit from it, which I don't believe is right. And I didn't really want to get into politics in any part of this, but since the angels are bringing it up, I think it's a very important factor in what's going to change the future, and it could cause us a lot of problems in the future. and they want us to be aware of some of the problems that it's going to do. So if there are people are out there who are just basing and planning on voting on Trump again because they've got better pay and work, then that might be something they want to rethink. I know even our Canadian politics is kind of leaning that way too. And when we start leaning towards just benefiting our own selves without worrying about what's happening in the rest of the world and helping out the rest of the world, then we're not doing our part in helping the rest of the world that is a lot less fortunate than we are. So let's hear that.
Come on, don't mix in mimicry.
In the next part, he says, that's how you want to get more people to talk. Challenge some of it, because you're an adjusting life form. So it seems like that is one of the main talking points right now for the election, is that better economy, etc. However, we've got to also look at what it's doing to the rest of the world, and it should be challenged. And we, as a civilization, should be able to find different ways of adjusting to things like work, find different kinds of work, or make different companies. And I think that's what he's trying to say. We have to adjust to that. We can't let our need be greater than the need for others that are suffering. Let's play that. In the next part, he says, if you can't take loss, it'll cost you more to avoid the truth. So what is the truth? It seems like I said before, that there's two different truths, the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats feel that Trump is using his power to blackmail other countries in the world that are less fortunate than us. And that if we let an abuse of power like this continue, it could affect all the presidents in the future. And right now, Canada and the U.S. are close allies. However, if the U.S. becomes corrupt, and not only now but in the future, then that's going to be a bad thing happening, and it could be the downfall of a civilization that in the past has tried to help other countries. So again, he says, if you can't take loss, it'll cost you more to avoid the truth. And then he says, only by voting will challenge this anyway. Who will commit to those who will interpret for you? I lost that, so I'm going to have to go back to it. So if we challenge it by voting, then the world, not only Canada and the US, are going to realize that this isn't the right way to go. The rest of the world, who usually follows along with the US, will also realize it too. And we can make some changes and stop some of the corruption that's going on. And when he says, who will commit to those who will interpret for you, he's talking about a lot of the Republicans who won't admit that President Trump has done anything wrong, or that he's corrupt. And that's pretty obvious when he won't even show us what his taxes or all the lies that he tells all the time. It's unfortunate, and I've said this before, even that the churches and Christians support him because of some of the things that he's done, like when it comes to abortions and that. And, you know, they kind of turn a blind eye to everything else that he's doing. So let's hear that part. In the next part, he says, basically, if you commit to those that interpret for you, it's not a jury for the future. So, it's not a jury for the future. Every event here has a birth date if they deny what's right, and it's a force that doesn't work. So if they vote again, and especially now what's going to happen in the Senate. You know right now that the Senate is led by Republicans, and there are more Republicans in the Senate than there are Democrats, and none of the Republicans are really looking at the facts. All they are doing is they're trying to say that it's a big scam, and not really defending what Trump has been doing. And I believe that you're going to see that he will not get impeached, and he'll get off, and then things will get worse. And if that happens, we could be in for major problems in the future. So let's hear that part where he says, that's not a jury for the future. Every event here has a birth date if they deny what's right, and it's a force that doesn't work. In this next part, he says, you see, Ryan is relying on the advice and light from us as a recording that chooses a time we wish to add something. Now, this kind of gets off the subject a little bit, but what he's saying kind of relates to the parallel files. Apparently, this is a hint of how they're actually sending these recordings to us, the angels, and angels of light will do this. It's sent by light molecules, and can actually be changed. And you'll see that when you listen to some of the older recordings, even though some of them do sound, like I've transcribed them before, that the new transcriptions are better, and they will give us more information. And this will happen when the angels believe it's time for us to actually hear it. Often they'll leave stuff out if we're not ready to hear it yet, or they'll add things when the time is right in history for these things to come out. I think I went a little bit beyond that, where he said, as this comes, he'll take a true record like TV. Let's play that back again. So basically he said there that this light will choose a time to add something. These light molecules will come through the recordings from the angels when they want to add something. And then he says, as this comes, it's going to be like a true record, like it's on TV, like they're actually reporting live. Let's go down to this next part. Okay, now I'm back here. And then he says, if they're not correct when we want it to be, in other words, if the recordings aren't correct when the angels want it to be, its dots will change color. And that's interesting because that's basically what TV does. They change the dots in the pixels from one color to another one. Let's hear that. And then he says, when are good people proud of the history if it's okay that they grope and lie? And when you watch some of the things that are going on with the impeachment hearings, you'll see a lot of that, especially from Republicans. And you know, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but I really do see how they will find any way to not really look at the truth and deflect in any way possible. Let's hear that. Okay, this next part kind of changes the subject a little bit. He says, oh, just like their Aryan theories that seem to enter as they watch school more. And that's another thing that a lot of people believe Trump is trying to do with this white supremacy stuff. It's the same as Aryan theories. So you might want to look that up, find out what some of them think, and it's starting to infiltrate in the schools and causing us problems, and it's even causing shootings and all kinds of terrible things happening, and our kids can't even feel safe at school anymore. Let's hear that. And then in the next part he says, there ain't no point to go to school for what their parents support. I believe he's saying that there are a lot of parents out there that have these theories and the kids bring them to school with them. And especially if they're supporting Trump's, some of his theories, and when the kids go to school, they're supporting him as well. And before you know it, the cancer just keeps on spreading and spreading. So let's just watch that. The next part is interesting. I'm going to do that. And it's very cute too. He says, write this down. Make a happy new year. Listen to all that's right. I promise you, puck, 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 puck. A bird just talked. Tweet, tweet, bird. Just hear that. And then he says, so he's getting into a little bit of animal rights here. And this would be a good video for animal rights activists as well. He says, some cook us for supper. Is it right to eat a pig? Someone will have to talk tough. Let's hear that.
Good boy.
That cook us for supper was very hard to hear. And although I could hear most of it, that, you know, there's he said something along that lines, but I can't really say that for 100%.
You're doing your animals.
And the same where he said someone will have to talk tough. That was a little bit, he was kind of pucking that out like a chicken. Now this next part, he says, don't raise sloth, even to please a company who wants you trained in food. It will come someday that meat gets a food pass. Now sloth is the skin of a dead animal. And it's interesting, he says, that in the future, that meat, and the way he says meat is kind of a little bit broken up, but he goes, meat gets a food pass. So obviously they've seen into the future, and they know that eventually meat will be something that humans won't be eating. So let's hear that.
Do it again.
And this next part is very clear. He says, the world we can make right for all of us, whether we work or not. And I know this world knows it's something special. So he's going back to the theme about working, that if we base our whole future on the work we do today, then it could affect our future unless we do it responsibly. And that he knows that the world is something special. Let's hear that.
Do your kitty cat. Peace.
Okay. And then he says, of course, we'll conquer and smite darkness. The future we see is better. I love this next part. For the first few times I did this transcription, I thought he was saying, instead of Hare Krishna, I thought he was saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And then he says a name there, Karen. But when I get to that part, I'm going to slow it down, and you can hear how he's saying Hare Krishna. Now that's important, because the Krishnas believe in that animals have a soul, and that it's against their religion to eat meat, and that they're vegetarians. So he's wishing them a Happy New Year, basically. So let's hear that, and I'll play the Hare Krishna a few times so you can hear it. You notice how he didn't say Mary, didn't start with an M, and it didn't end with S, it ended with Na. So he says, Hare Krishna, Happy New Year. Here we go again. So if you didn't hear it, if you go over that a few times with headphones, I guarantee that you will hear it. And you could even slow it down if you want. And this next part too is very nice. He says, let's anoint the lesson tonight that will give this bird luck. Hold on here, I think I missed something here. Which I did, I think. Okay, he should have said it. I missed that part. It says, time somebody talks to school. It's time somebody talks, so you can even deploy me and try to defend this earth better. Let's go back to that again. And then he says, the lesson tonight that will give this bird luck. Now the next part is kind of funny, and Victor often threw in some humor that, even though it was humorous, it meant something. You know, he's trying to say it in a funny way. So he says, "Finally, haha, if I look for cheese, I diss all of you, right? Some visitors have got this Pontiac, and some Pontiacs are very good." Now, one thing about Pontiacs is they no longer make them, but you know, I think it was back in the 80s they did, and they were mostly muscle cars and gas guzzlers and things like that. The Camaro, or I don't even remember the names of them because I wasn't much of a car person, but I do know that they were muscle cars. So let's hear that part. Oh, the other thing I'd like to tell you too is that I had a lot of a problem finding this whole file because it's 20 years old. I've done several versions where I've cut it in one spot and then done that version and then done another part in another spot, but I could only find the original for the first part, so I had to use this the same file as the old translation. So you'll see the old translation underneath the at the bottom in white, but this is the new translation, and there's not very many changes to this last part at all with the new translation. So just don't let that throw you off, and just try and follow the yellow words in this one. Let's just go back a bit. So he said some visitors have got this Pontiac, and some Pontiac are very good. And excuse me, but this was the only time, one of the only times I ever heard Victor swear. I think there's one other recordings where he said the same word, but this is what he says. So after he says some Pontiacs are very good, and then he says that's what all people like, shit air. Oops, and I have to stop there, boy. Yeah, that's Frank. What is better? Let's hear that. Let's go back and play that one more time. Oops, a bit back a bit further there. Okay, and let's go down to this next part. We're getting close to the end of the forward version. Then he says, if God needs a soldier, I trust that he'll know it. But I promise you, as you are, who wants to go to war for Trump? Pick a new captain who'll choose a good future. So, you know, that there's a little bit of a warning in there that unless something really changes, there could be something happening, possibly a civil war, possibly other wars around the world because of what Trump's doing. And you know, is it worth having more money for compromising the lives of the future, or compromising what our children's future is? And we just, you know, hope something like that doesn't happen because of it. So let's hear that. So he says, pick a new captain who'll choose a good future. And then he says, many like him, but sad that would be. Because of that, we'll see death, and he'll have a better time. So, knowing the way Trump is, and I know a lot of people don't believe this, if there was death caused by some of his actions, it would be sad, but it wouldn't really affect him. As long as he's still got his money and he's doing what he's, always done, he'll be happy and he'll have a good time. So let's hear that. And then he says, and excuse the birds for so much noise in the background, the future will take time in God. It's a pity that all this will get bitter. Bless a party that shall achieve things that are decent. I'm going to play that again because some of that was very fast. And by the way, I think you're going to find the reversal in this one of the better ones, if not the best one so far. Almost everything in it is understandable, and it's pretty incredible. So let's hear this one more time. And the other thing too is I'm not going to. This is already over a half hour long, so I'm not going to do the reversal in this one. But I will try and do the reversal today, so you'll have it out later on today as well. But I'll put this one out first. So let's listen to this part here. And then the last thing he says, our future should ask them, where are you watching all presidents who think they employ a good party? And then I say very good, which is very interesting too, because what I'm saying in this last forward part, you'll see when we do the reverse part, it makes a sentence, a pretty incredible sentence. So even though some presidents may think, or they have a party that thinks they're doing good, we have to really look at it. Are they doing good for the future? Are they just worried about their own country, or are they worried about the rest of the world? Are they corrupt? Are they lying? Are they cheating? Are they refusing to admit the truth? Those are the kind of things that politicians do, and those are the kind of things that we shouldn't accept. And like I said before, it's happening in Canada as well, and it's not just Trump. And when you see so many of them not thinking at all about what is actually right and good and honest, then we've got a real problem. So let's hear that part.
Very good.
Okay, now I just want to play that last part one more time, and then I'm going to finish this presentation and start on the next one, but I'll upload this one first, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll also post the short version of this as well, so today you should, or by the latest tomorrow, have four new videos to watch this weekend. This completes this presentation. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to join us, you can come to theangelscrolls.com and click onto the forum link at the top, where we will be adding the newest presentations. Bye for now.